So here's a story that should scare the shit out of everybody. Trump White House weighs unprecedented plan to privatize much of the war in Afghanistan. The White House is actively considering a bold plan to turn over a big chunk of the U.S. war in Afghanistan to private contractors in an effort to turn the tide in a stalemated war, according to the former head of a security firm pushing the project. Under the proposal, 5,500 private contractors, primarily former special operations troops, would advise Afghan combat forces. The plan also includes a 90-plane private air force that would provide air support in the nearly 16-year-old war against Taliban insurgents. Eric Prince, founder of the Blackwater security firm, told USA Today, the unprecedented proposal comes as the U.S.-backed Afghan military faces a stalemate in the war and a growing frustration by President Trump about the lack of progress in the war. The U.S. military has 8,400 U.S. troops there to train and guide local forces. They do not have a direct combat role, I'm sure, and presumably would be replaced gradually by the contractors. Okay, so there's a lot to say about this here. First of all, for those of you who don't know, the Taliban controls 40% of Afghanistan. 40%. Now, we've been there 16 years. They control nearly half the country. How's that looking? Does it look like the war was a good idea? They may control more territory now than they did before we even fucking invaded, so it got worse. So that seems like it's absolutely doomed, especially since we already blew $2 trillion there. What a waste! What a fucking waste that was. Now, on top of that, you have Blackwater, Eric Prince of Blackwater, who, by the way, they changed their name like 4 fucking times. They went from Blackwater to something else to XI. Why? Because all the legal problems they were in, because they're fucking war criminals. They're a mercenary army. Do you not understand what that means? They're a mercenary army. So we just got the word that people who were involved in the Nisour Square massacre, that, you know, they were Blackwater fighters. They just had their conviction overturned. They gunned down 14 innocent people in the middle of Nisour Square. But they just got their conviction overturned because the judge said, oh, that was a cruel and unusual punishment. Why is it cruel and unusual? Well, you see what had happened was one of the people wanted to have a separate trial from the other 3 people who did the massacre with him, and you didn't give him a separate trial, so, minor details. Throw out the conviction. What? So, these people who are criminals, he had to change the name of the company multiple times because they're a fucking mercenary army. Now, Trump wants to put them back in control. Why? You ready for this? Because this is how they're pitching it to him. They go, oh, Mr. President, it would cost $40 billion to do the things you want to do in Afghanistan right now. Blackwater will do it for $10 billion. So Trump, since he's a dumbass, he's going to look at, well, $10 billion is less than $40 billion. $10 billion is less than $40 billion, so let's go in that direction. Now, one of the options used to be, in fact, the preferred position that Trump used to take was, we're just going to get out of there. Why are we even there anymore? We're not doing anything. We're just wasting money. So let's get the fuck out of there. Let's do it right now. That used to be his position. Now he's debating, do we stay there and spend $40 billion on the military trying to regain territory and continue fighting? Or do we spend $10 billion and have Blackwater do it? That's the debate we're having now. Yeah, neither. You should just get the fuck out because there's nothing's going to come from this. What is victory? What is victory? Hey, we got it, so now the Taliban only holds 10% of the land. Whenever you leave, they're going to take over more territory. If you leave now, 10 years or 100 years from now, they're going to take over more territory. They're a guerrilla army. You're not going to outlast them in there. It's just not going to happen. So, why is the Blackwater move such a bad move, even though you theoretically saved $30 billion? Because a mercenary army is totally unaccountable. And you just made it so war is 100% for profit. There's a reason why mercenary armies have historically been viewed as such a dangerous thing that should never exist. Because when you set up war as a profit-making machine, you're going to have people who want more war to make more profit. So you'll have the private contractors in Blackwater lobby the government to keep giving them more and more contracts, and then the politicians look for places to send the people to do the war because they were just paid by these people. Hey, look, man, we've been sitting on our ass a little too long here over at Blackwater. We want to fight another war. Remember when we gave all you politicians money for your campaigns? Maybe you should deploy us somewhere and allow us to fight. This is the military-industrial complex, but it's like the crystallized version of it. It's like the logical conclusion. We already have this kind of gross system with other kinds of defense contractors, whether it's people who are building the tanks or building the planes or whatever. But this is like an actual fighting force that's privatized. You cannot privatize a military that's a mercenary army, and they're going to want to fight more simply to make more money. That's what the leaders of Blackwater are going to do, and they're going to pay the politicians to give them more places to fight. And now it looks like Trump is going to privatize the war in Afghanistan. We've already been there 16 years, blown trillions of dollars, and now he wants to turn taxpayer money over to a for-profit company to fight a war we should no longer even be in because nobody can even tell us what victory is. This is your tax money. This is my tax money. We're killing innocent people over there. Our own soldiers are dying over there. Young men and women, they didn't pick this war to go into. Weren't the policy makers. What the fuck happened, Don? You used to say, let's get out of there. Now look at you. It's just a total and utter waste. We have nothing to show for a 16-year war. Let's take that money and reinvest it here. Come on. It's such an easy decision to make. Rebuild our roads, rebuild our bridges, do an infrastructure deal. That's not privatizing it and handing it over to Goldman Sachs, because that's the next trick they're going to try to do. Let's fix this country. Half the country makes $30,000 a year or less, and we're talking about spending billions more in Afghanistan when we've already been there 16 years and we have nothing to show for it. This is so stupid, and it's so corrupt.